Hi everyone, it's MrMostDaysOff from the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. I want to say thank you so much for tuning into our podcast and also let you know of 3 additional ways you can help out the show. First, you can find and buy our merchandise at tpublic.com/bestdarndiddly. You can also support our sponsors popthreads.com for all your other t-shirt needs and use our discount code Simpsons at checkout. And finally, you can find us on patreon.com. Thank you again so much for listening to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show, and please enjoy this week's podcast. Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons, or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by 2 dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as MrMostDaysOff, and today is the day, folks. We have got an episode that we've been looking forward to for a very long time now. Will it live up to the hype? We are going to find out real soon. But first, joining me as always, a man who is sweet as a lemon, your co-host with the most, Richie the WizKid. How you doing today, Rich?
Well, I was only fruit available at the time. I am doing wondrous today, Miles. I've been holding back, not in the slightest, about this episode for now 6 seasons and almost a movie. But I've said it numerous times, this is my favorite episode of The Simpsons. But I love your tease of will it live up to that after we have to review it in depth. So I don't want to waste any time. I want to dig right into this wondrous episode like I already said. Let me throw it back to you. The man, the myth, the Team Discovery Channel. It is Miles.
I swear I never hang out with him. So, of course, we are talking about Lemon of Troy today, which originally aired all the way back on May 14th of 1995. And right out of the gate on the director's commentary, as he's introducing the episode, Matt Groening himself refers to this episode as a classic and one of his all-time favorites, which, good choice, Matt, I must say.
Absolutely.
The rest of the commentary team on this episode includes showrunner David Merkin, director Jim Reardon, supervising director David Silverman, and writers both Greg Daniels and David S. Cohen, which are going to provide a great story that I never heard before and can't wait to share with you. But we, of course, are going to start at the beginning. And we're going to just start breaking down the title, Lemon of Troy, which is, of course, a parody of Helen of Troy, if you didn't catch it. Referring to the Greek mythology, Helen of Troy was the daughter of Zeus, who, of course, is the king of all gods. She was abducted by Paris, and that brought on the Trojan War. And some of you may have heard of a story of the Trojan horse. Believe it or not, there are some parallels to this very episode.
What?
To
no
that
way.
very legend. Yeah, I know. I was mind blown myself.
No one has ever done anything this smart in history.
I can't wait to get there. I have so much to say. But, as always, we'll start from the chalk gag, which this one says the First Amendment does not cover burping, which I'm going to have to say on this one, agree to disagree, Bart.
Exactly.
Agree to disagree.
Well, he's being forced to write it on the chalkboard, so that means Bart actually agrees with the opposite.
That's true. Yeah, I have to say, though, I think that it very clearly does cover burping if you choose to interpret it that way.
I mean, you can talk while you burp, right?
That's true. The couch gag on this one is a repeat. It's the family running in. They're in the old school Mickey Mouse style with the big old gloves and the big fake smiles, and they're kind of dancing in a circular motion. You've seen it before. It's a good one, but it is not a new one. So, moving on from that, we start off the episode with a very beautiful day in Springfield, and Bart is taking advantage, skateboarding all over town, when in the far distance, a sign calls out to him. We get this great bit of animation where it's this long stretch as we basically kind of do like an eagle vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got sniper vision or something.
He does. And he very quickly notices that there is fresh cement poured with a wet cement sign.
Is there any sweeter sign? Well, maybe high voltage.
And he skates after it. I love this. He is so focused that he actually ollies over a safe full of jewels that almost falls on his head. But if he would have stopped, it actually busted open, and he could have been a very, very rich man. But no time, because there's wet cement. And then he's actually interrupted by Professor Frink.
Hello, son. You want to try the flying motorcycle I just invented?
No time.
Okay, well, even.
And Frink's invention actually seems to work really well.
Yeah.
It does, in fact, fly away, which is kind of fun. Bart is still focused on his canvas, as we're about to find out. He's ready to write in that wet cement, and he declares, "This is for the ages," before having a quick fantasy of the future, where there is a crowd of people that are designed to look like they're advanced technology. They're all around this concrete brick.
The year 2010?
Bart. Yeah, exactly. Bart is etched into the concrete, and we hear a woman talking about it, saying, "Like Stonehenge, this site will forever be a mystery. Who was Bart? And how did he manage to write his name in solid cement?"
He must have been much smarter than his sister, Lisa, about whom we know nothing.
Say, let's bring him back to life by using technology.
They can't figure out how someone wrote in cement, but they can bring people back from the dead.
By shooting a concrete brick with a laser gun, Bart essentially just appears out of nowhere. Ay caramba!
Yay!
We see Bart pull out a yo-yo, and he doesn't really do much. He's just yo-yoing, letting it sleep a little, and pulling it back up.
Ooh, ah.
What's normal to him amazes us.
He will be our new god.
Yay! Bart's fantasy...
He's got it all figured out, man.
Yeah, it's a good dream to have. I don't know how well that's all going to work out for him.
And would it be the original Bart or a recreation of Bart when he wouldn't remember it all?
Either way, Bart is immortalizing himself with his finger in the concrete. He finishes spelling his name as a shadowy figure emerges behind him. Ooh, good. Somebody's shadow. I'll just turn and brag about my work. Ah!
Bart, you've graffito tagged public property.
It was an accident. He spelled his name. I love that. Could it possibly be an accident?
I can't believe you vandalized your own hometown, Bart. What would Jebediah Springfield say?
I think he'd be cool with it.
Oh, Homer, will you please help me make a big deal of this?
What for? Nobody cared when Bogart defaced that sidewalk in Hollywood. And this joke is referring to Humphrey Bogart, who is one of the many, many Hollywood stars who have a star on the Walk of Fame. So the defacing that Homer is referring to is ironically also something that the Simpsons would go on to do themselves. But Marge is legitimately concerned, though. She's actually shocked by the whole family. I mean, whatever happened to good old-fashioned town pride?
It's been going downhill ever since the lake caught fire.
Which, I really like this line, mostly because it seems like some real slow burn, pun intended, setup or foreshadowing, if you will, for the Simpsons movie, which, if you remember, the cause of all of Springfield's problems to begin with is the fact that the lake has been overpolluted.
By a pig silo.
Exactly. Marge is actually getting really impassioned by all this. I mean, she tells everyone that this town is part of who you are. She talks about the Springfield isotopes caps, that when you wear it around, you're wearing Springfield. When you eat fish from our river, you're eating Springfield. When you make lemonade from our tree, you're drinking Springfield.
Mom, when you give that lecture, you're boring Springfield. Oh, Bart.
I like that line, actually, a lot. But Marge is still not relenting. Bart, you have roots in this town, and you ought to show respect for it. This town is part of us all, a part of us all, a part of us all. Sorry to repeat myself, but it'll help you remember. And then we see Bart skateboarding through town, and in Bart's head, we hear Marge's voice. This town is a part of us all, a part of us all, a part of us all.
Wow, that does work. And I love, like, a normal kid would be angry at that moment, like, Mom, get out of my head. But I love how, like, Bart's genuinely like, oh my gosh, that actually does work.
Wow, Mom was right. Yeah, that was great. The aforementioned isotopes are actually practicing right by where Bart is skateboarding, which is kind of weird, to be honest. But a loose ball comes rolling up to Bart, and he actually throws it back and yells out, "Are you going to win some this season?"
Gonna try.
But this burly man is barely able to toss the baseball a few feet with very, very low results.
I think Bart threw it left-handed. I think Bart might be a southpaw. I couldn't get the camera angle right on the way I was watching it, but it kind of looked like he threw it lefty.
He is a lefty.
All right, there you go.
Next up, we find Nelson Muntz, who's fishing in a river using the best baits, which is, of course, the German light infantry in the form of an army man toy. But to his credit, they seem to be working. He's got a whole string of trout.
Beautiful, aren't they?
Yep, now I'm gonna hook them at cars. Milhouse and Lewis are also enjoying the beautiful day, but they're a little less sinister than Nelson. They're just running a lemonade stand, and Milhouse is very proud of how clearly booming business is. And as we pan out, we see that just Lisa, and Lisa alone, is holding a single cup of lemonade.
I don't even want any. I just bought a pity glass.
But Milhouse in that moment realizes that they've somehow squozen their whole supply to the lemon tree.
And I like this next little bit you get, the do music playing while they're going along the countryside there to the lemon tree. It's like a cool little journey, Miles, a cool little journey.
Well, and on the commentary, they did note that they purposely made this journey a very idyllic version of Springfield.
Yeah.
Like everything is very clean and proper, and it kind of gives you that nostalgic, like, how things were on Leave It to Beaver, or like even further back vibe, like maybe like a Tom Sawyer era type of stuff, where kids are just roaming and having a good time with some good old innocent mischief.
It's very reminiscent of Tom Sawyer.
For sure. And that'll be juxtaposed with how dark and gloomy and almost creepy a lot of the ways that Shelbyville will be depicted as we get into that town a little bit later.
I mean, yellow fire hydrants?
They definitely chose to make some fun parallels to the towns. For now, though, the kids have arrived at the lemon tree, and we see Database, Martin, and Todd dancing joyously around it. And Milhouse and Bart start picking lemons.
Thar she grows.
You know, Milhouse, I've been thinking, this town ain't so bad. Good friends, lots of lemons, numerous angel sightings. When you get right down to it, Springfield's a pretty cool place to live.
Not to mention, we'll see more future angel sightings.
Yes, I think that's really fun that the angel sightings does also foreshadow. Lots of foreshadowing already in this episode. The episode Lisa the Skeptic, where, of course, the town will discover the bones of an angel on the, I think it's the new mall's ground.
It's an actual angel, Miles.
I'm sure, yes.
Springfield sucks!
Hey, stop talking bad about my town, man. And we see that there is a clear line where even the grass is different shades, and a sign that separates Springfield from Shelbyville. And you have a group of kids that look very similar to our Springfield children, and they kind of start hollering back and forth at each other.
Why don't you make me?
I don't make trash, I burn it.
Then I guess you're a garbage man.
Well, I know you are, but what am I?
A garbage man.
I know you are, but what am I?
A garbage man.
I know you are, but what am I?
A garbage man.
Takes one to know one. Checkmate! On the commentary, they do say that they hate how much Database talks in this episode, because he's way funnier if he's just like one or two lines and that's it, but this was great. Checkmate! We also see Milhouse, who is getting into it with his doppelganger.
Hey, kid! Stop wearing your backpack over one shoulder. We invented that, copycats.
You copied us.
Step over this line and say that. I'll kick your butt. At Nintendo.
He's very, very tough on that A and B button. Well, we actually get this unnamed Bart lookalike to throw a rock over the line, and he actually declares, I just put a rock in your crummy town.
That's a crud rock. It belongs in Crud Town.
And Bart tries to pick it back up, but he is unsuccessful, and the kid is right to call him a weak little baby. He's also stupid, you stupid weak baby. Come on, let's get out of here.
And they're taking it with them, Miles. I can't believe the gall of these children from Shelbyville.
I mean, they're stealing lemons from the Springfield lemon tree. I mean, I don't know if it's actually a crime or anything, but Bart and Milhouse are upset about it. They can't spare a single one. And then they actually use them as weapons and start hurling them at the Shelbyville children. I love that. We can't spare any. Throw them at them.
It works.
It does. They even got citric acid in one of the kids' eyes.
Well, especially they hit the Bart doppelganger in the eye, too, so...
Yeah, it's like the leader of the pack, for sure.
Yeah.
But we pan out and see that Grandpa Simpson is seated on a stump nearby, and he just kind of laughs to himself. Ah, some things will never change.
Hey, everybody! An old man's talking!
I love that line. I love that all the kids just instinctively go and circle around and sit to listen, which is actually kind of sweet in a lot of ways, but I don't think it's very accurate to how this often will go. Grandpa's the name. Did you know this tree dates back to frontier times?
Wow! Frontier times!
Shut up! It all began when Jebediah Springfield first came to these lands with his partner Shelbyville Manhattan.
People, our search is over. On this site we shall build a new town where we can worship freely, govern justly, and grow vast fields of hemp for making rope and blankets.
Yes, and marry our cousins.
What are you talking about, Shelbyville? Why would we want to marry our cousins?
Because they're so attractive. I thought that was the whole point of this journey.
Absolutely not.
I tell you, I won't live in a town that robs men of the right to marry their cousins.
Well then, we'll form our own town. Who will come and live a life devoted to chastity, abstinence, and a flavorless mush I call Root Mom?
We see the original inhabitants or settlers of Springfield and Shelbyville kind of disperse out amongst the two leaders with very different motivations, and we cut back to modern time with Abe telling the story. The town of Springfield was born that day, and to mark that sweet moment, our people planted this lemon tree. Lemons being the sweetest fruit available at the time.
And if you would like to see Miles and Richie reenact the history of Springfield, see us at the Springfield Museum.
So we actually cut to Miss Krabappel's class the next day in school, and Bart's still really hot about the Shelbyville kids and kind of wants to get some sort of revenge, but Edna is calming the class. She reminds them if they do not learn Roman numerals, they'll never know the date certain motion pictures were copyrighted. I love that line too. There's so many great one-liners in this episode.
Yes.
It's got a really good flowing plot as well. It's a very strong episode for an obvious reason. Nelson actually bursts in the classroom, though, interrupting Miss Krabappel and yells out, "Everyone, come quick! Something's happened! No time to explain!"
No, children, no. Your education is important. Roman numerals, etc. Whatever, I tried.
And she lights a cigarette.
What I want to know is, why wasn't Nelson in class?
Like, he's Nelson. I think he kind of free roams how he pleases.
Well, I was wondering if maybe it was the start of the day and she was still, like, getting the board ready before they started, but it's just kind of funny to me that he's supposed to be in class, but he burst into there going, "Everyone, come quick!" Like he went on a really long bathroom break or something.
Oh, here, actually, I've got a note on that. Sorry, I missed it at first, but it's because the plot needed him to.
Ah, okay, it all makes sense now.
So, The thing that Nelson has to show him, he's leading the town, or all the kids of town at least, to somewhere.
Out of school.
And Milhouse is actually kind of panting and begging, just tell us what happened.
No, I said there's no time to explain, and I stick by that.
And the big event that's happened is the lemon tree has gone missing, and you can clearly see tracks that lead all the way to Shelbyville.
Oh, look, a clue. A candy bar wrapper.
And Milhouse, who's super nerdy but gets a little try to be tough here. Oh, they're always eating candy in Shelbyville. They love the sweet taste.
We've got to get that tree back.
Oh, you mean going to Shelbyville? We'll never make it out alive.
That lemon tree's a part of our town, and as kids, the backbone of our economy. We'll get it back or choke their rivers with our dead.
And the preparation for Operation Get Our Fucking Lemon Tree Back is on. We see the plan move to the Simpsons' home, where Bart is getting ready to go on his retrieval mission when his parents interrupt him and ask where he's off to. He explains to his mom that she's not going to believe this, but something Marge said the other day actually really got through to him. And now I'm going to go teach some kids a lesson. And we hear the door slam.
I choose to take that literally.
Outside, we hear Bart yell out, "Death to Shelbyville!"
Yes, Bart's a tutor now. Toot on, son! Toot on!
And that beautiful moment in line is going to bring us to the end of our first act.
I think we need to take a break so we can go toot real quick.
We're both going to go toot on. We'll be right back for Act 2 after we hear from some buddies of ours.
Hey everybody, we are the Derailers, Goobs, Ripken, and Jenny Bean, and you can join us once every week for a brand new derailment. It includes sidetracking, randomness, we just can't stay on topic.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Derailers.
And please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and also on YouTube.
Derailers!
Hey guys, it's Richie the WizKid here from the Best Darn Diddly Review Show, and I'm here to talk to you about PopThreads.com, your number one source for finding awesome nerdy t-shirts. Are you sick from not knowing what to wear when you go out with all your friends on the weekends? Well, don't have a cow, man. Go to popthreads.com, and if you use the code Simpsons at checkout, you can save 15% on all your t-shirt needs.
Back from our first break, and we see Bart is over at Milhouse's getting ready for the invasion. He's telling Milhouse to get all of his supplies, and Milhouse pulls out a camouflage suit. And I actually really love this whole sequence for a lot of reasons, but we get another fantasy sequence, the second so far of many, or at least a few. And Milhouse, in this case, is imagining that with this camouflage suit, he would be able to disappear from his enemies and psychologically torture them as he moved around in the shrubs and the trees, being able to almost pop out like the Cheshire Cat does in Alice in Wonderland. Taunting his bullies, essentially, or his foes. The reason I love this so much is this reminds me, and I think they really hit the nail on the head, of how children think of things when we're growing up. Because I remember being marketed to and having toys of a certain caliber where you just knew that if you had this one thing, or if you had this one toy, that it would change your life and you would be untouchable on the playground. It would be almost as if it were some sort of magical item that you might find in like a movie.
The golden gun.
A MacGuffin of sorts in a lot of ways. Like just some weird article that you need to be able to solve all of your problems. And as a child, I remember having those thoughts and even thinking maybe not to this extreme of a level, but on this same plane. And I think they just did a really great job of kind of framing what a child, or how a child's mind works.
Well, it just, quite frankly, plays into the whole feel of the episode, and it fits perfectly in with the story, and it gives you that sense of adventure and about the kids and then their pridefulness, and like you're absolutely right. I remember having those awesome fantasies. I always thought I was going to have the Ninja Turtles truck or their little car mobile that goes around. I always thought they would make one that was big enough for you to actually drive, and that I would be the only one that had it.
I remember there was a remote control car that I had gotten at one point. There was a super big letdown, but it was supposed to be like the thing that was going to change my life. And I also remember thinking walkie-talkies were going to be a lot cooler than they ended up being, though it was really fun in the early 90s or mid-90s, I guess you might say, that if you had a walkie-talkie, certain cordless phones, you could actually like pick up the conversation. So in reality, I never got anything juicy. Like, it was probably people like talking to like the cable company, but it's like, ooh, we can eavesdrop on neighbors, and yeah, it got weird.
I'd like to cancel my phone service. Okay, thank you. Click.
Yeah, that was
Hello?
like the juiciest moment. But how dope would it have been if like we caught like the neighbors like having an affair or something? Like, that would have been real fun.
Whoa.
I know, right?
The days of Miles' life.
For now, though, it's become a day for these boys of Springfield to become men. Bart gathers his troops as the de facto leader of Springfield children at the
Springfield Pride.
At the Shelbyville-Springfield line. He tells his men, this is how it's going to go. I'm the leader. Milhouse is my loyal sidekick. Nelson's the tough guy. Martin's the smart guy. And Todd's the quiet religious guy who ends up going crazy.
Every genre stereotype person in the movie is now covered.
I really
No role
love,
for
though,
database.
as Bart's speech continues, he's charging them up, telling them they're going to become men. We actually see in the background, Todd's eyes get real shifty, and he actually stares right into the fourth wall with a really concerned look on his face. Really, really funny bit.
I love the fact that when he gives them when we cross this line, we're not children, we become men. And then in the background, Lisa and that other girl are freely running back and forth across the line, giggling and flying a kite.
Just having a great, great time. Absolutely. Like, it's absolutely no big deal.
Yeah.
According to IMDb, and I'll admit, I had a really hard time identifying her, even knowing that this was who it was supposed to be. But according to IMDb, the other girl that is flying the kite is actually Samantha Stenke, which is Milhouse's ex-girlfriend from the episode Bart's Friend Falls in Love.
Wow. Yeah, I wasn't sure who she was. And like, I've always in my mind just assumed it's a girl from Shelbyville, just because I feel like that makes the plot a lot
That
more
would actually
funny.
be funnier, yeah. Or more funny.
Whatever it's supposed to be. One of us was correct, but
Wait,
both of us were correct.
does Samantha actually end up moving to Shelbyville at the end of that episode, or am I completely
She goes
making
to
it up?
that.
She goes to that
I don't
all-girls
remember.
school, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't remember that specifically being in Shelbyville, but that would have been kind of cool if it was. That would have been a
That
neat
would
nod.
be. That would suck for Millhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly that means Samantha's into little girls now, so that's all she's around all day.
Well, for now, though, that's a weird thing to go out on.
But back to little boys.
No,
Oh,
it would
wait.
be interesting if Millhouse's girlfriend did end up going to Shelbyville. Clearly, that's going to be the end of the relationship anyway.
There you go. It all wraps up in a nice, neat little bow.
Mm-hmm.
Or kite.
But as the boys enter Shelbyville, Bart gives them a reminder that if you get lost, you can always find east by staring directly at the sun. Martin has an even better tip.
Put a pinch of sage in your boots, and all day long a spicy scent is your reward.
Nelson is already just not having this. He cannot believe he has to hang out
Again,
with this nerd.
Database doesn't have a role in this group. I don't know what he's supposed to be.
The other smart guy?
The file cabinet, basically, where Martin gets all his information from, the computer.
The one that has just too many
Yeah.
lines for this episode, according to Matt Groening. This is where the kids start to notice those little differences I mentioned, though, or Richie actually mentioned this one, like the fire hydrants being yellow. And they all agree this place is freaking them out. But they brought another dope tool of the trade that's going to help get them through this mission. Todd actually has a periscope.
Danger coming! Behind us!
We see them all jump over a very short wall, and I love this whole gag here because the Shelbyville kid's dog starts to growl, and they're saying, like, what is it, boy? Is there something behind this wall that we should beat up?
No time to check it out now. We've got lemonade to sell.
And the Millhouse doppelganger says, radical.
They're getting rich off us.
And the kid with the backpack said radical. I say radical. That's my thing that I say. I feel like I'm going to explode here. And Milhouse starts shaking violently.
And I love that in that instance, Todd backs away from Milhouse in fear of Milhouse exploding.
Yeah, I mean, it's a legit concern. He's got nerd rage.
Can we ask, why is Todd on this adventure?
It does seem like he's out of place here, but maybe they felt like with a mission this big, they needed the Lord on their side.
Or maybe he actually felt the sense of pride because of the way his dad is all the time. I mean...
Also possible.
I could see the Flanders being very into Springfield all around, but I just... It's a little odd to me. Bart's good at goading people into doing things, so maybe somewhere along the line that happened. But I've always wondered why him and Database go on this adventure.
Before we get back to the kids, we touch base with Marge and Lisa real quick. It's almost lunchtime. Do you know where your brother is tutoring?
Tutoring? The only thing Bart's teaching is guerrilla combat in Shelbyville.
Well, do you have a number where we can reach him?
No, Mom. Bart and some kids ran off to wage war on Shelbyville.
Homer, come quick. Bart's quit his tutoring job and has joined a violence gang.
Even in an episode where Marge and Lisa don't get a whole lot of screen time, Marge gets some really good lines in this episode.
Marge kills it in this episode, and I love, they've done even a better job than normal of just getting such a perfect stereotype of that 90s mom that just was very out of touch, but clearly read a Reader's Digest article or two about the sweeping violence gangs coming across the country.
I just love the phrase violence gang.
Violence gang. Yes, it's like the graffito art on the concrete earlier. Or I'm sorry, the graffito vandalism. Yeah. Back with the kids, Database actually proposes an idea. They suggest that they split up to cover more ground.
Good idea. Milhouse, you and me will be Omega Team. Todd, you and Data are Team Strike Force. Nelson, that leaves you and Martin.
And Martin proudly declares, Team Discovery Channel!
Oh, your wussiness better come in handy. I gotta tell you, Miles, phrases like Tuton and Team Discovery Channel, I've used them pretty much on, if not on a daily basis, on a weekly basis in my since this episode aired for the most part. I remember one time my friends and I were in high school. We went to a mall somewhere, and we were trying to be ridiculous and jackass, basically. And for some reason, we dared somebody to walk in and yell Team Discovery Channel. And I don't remember where it was or why.
Wow, you have the wussiest jackass recreations ever.
Yeah, exactly. This is actually Carlos. You know Carlos.
Shout out to Carlos.
He walked into this place at one point and went, Team Discovery Channel! And I've never seen a room go so silent and give such evil looks in my entire life. And of course, all the kids, we were all busting out laughing. And it's so stupid, but it was so much fun. And I can't talk enough about how much I love this episode.
Well, Richie, your wussiness better come in handy, too.
It won't.
For now, though, back at the Springfield side of things, the parents are getting a little bit concerned. Ned, it seems, has called to order a little meetup. Okay, folks, look, I called the police captain in Shelbyville. He said he hasn't seen our kids, but if they show up in the morgue, he'll fax us.
Oh, man, I hate those Shelbyville jerks.
Honey, I was born in Shelbyville.
And it tears me up inside.
That's Mr. and Mrs. Van Houten, Milhouse's parents. Apparently, Milhouse's mom was born in Shelbyville.
That's a good little trivia fact there.
Marge is torn up, though. This is all my fault. I tried to teach Bart about town pride, but the power of my words filled him with a sort of madness.
She ain't wrong, Miles. She ain't wrong.
That's true. She did inspire all of this.
Now, Marge, you can't blame all of Bart's problems on your one little speech. If anything turned him bad, it's that time you let him wear a bathing suit instead of underwear. And let's not forget your little speech.
Isn't there anything we can do?
Yes, there is. Come on, everybody. Let's go into Shelbyville and get those kids back ourselves. I got an RV we can use. Flanders is...
Yay!
Let's do it!
Well, okay, but just go a little bit easy on.
Pile in, everybody! No time to wipe your feet!
That last line is so good, just that extra little cherry. This is fun because we actually kind of saw the origin of this RV all the way back in season 1 when Flanders purchased it in the episode Call of the Simpsons.
And it's finally getting to be used.
Like
That's
first
called
time.
payoff.
5 years later, they set that joke up so 5 years later they could use it for this exact scenario.
You haven't seen it anywhere parked on Evergreen Terrace before this exact moment, but now it's here conveniently.
So the parents are planning a rescue mission, but back in Shelbyville, we see Martin, of all people, acting very out of character.
No one manhandles the bosom chum of Nelson Muntz! Spring forth, burly protector, and save me!
There's a really long pause, but then finally Nelson comes out from behind a tree. Oh, jeez. I never hang out with him normally. He throws the kid off of Martin.
the big, well, he's not bigger than Nelson, but yeah, the guy that's almost
brother,
equal to him, yeah.
And then Martin actually breaks his newfound bully persona and starts skipping very, very merrily around Nelson.
Hark to the tale of Nelson and the boy he loves so dear.
Nelson's actively punching at Martin during this.
They remained the best of friends for years and years and years. He just keeps trying to swipe at him and he just keeps missing.
And Nelson just looks so depressed in this moment. Like, oh, how did I end up with this nerd? We then cut to Bart and Milhouse, who are actually spying on some Shelbyville kids through a telescope.
What are they saying?
I'm not sure.
I thought you said you could read lips.
I assumed I could.
Everyone assumes that at some point, right? I feel like I did at least 3 times.
It's a life lesson we all need to learn the hard way. Bart decides, you know what? It's not going to work from a distance. They're going to have to get in close, so he's going to need a new face in order to go undercover. We see Milhouse pull out the Baron Von Costume Deluxe Disguise Kit, and he grins at Bart.
You leave that to the Baron and me.
And we see Bart in his brand new, completely unrecognizable look walk up to the Shelbyville kids. He's wearing essentially a Beatles wig, so he looks kind of like one of the Beatles in the 1950s. And he's got a random scar on the side of his face.
But everything else is the exact same as all the Shelbyville kids saw him earlier. The same clothes, essentially.
Right, and Bart's also being fairly obvious. Hello there, fellow Shelbyvillians.
Wait a minute. If you're from Shelbyville, how come we've never seen you at school?
I don't go to school.
Okay, what's 2 plus 2?
5.
Oh, story checks out.
And even when the leader of the Shelbyville kids runs up and declares, we just got word there's Springfield kids in town, they still don't get it, and Bart yells out, curse those handsome devils.
We're going up to the bluffs to paint Springfield sucks in huge letters. That way, whenever they look into Shelbyville, they will realize that they suck.
We hear the Milhouse doppelganger say, radical. And unfortunately, Bart still has his walkie-talkie, his Krusty the Clown-themed walkie-talkie in his back pocket.
Quit copying me! You know, I wish there was a Springfield kid right now. I'd fill his mouth with stink bugs.
No, not in my mouth! Is what the kid would say. To the bluffs!
I love how he just let's continue on. To the bluffs! Let's just move along. Forget I just did that.
Nothing to see here.
Helps the story, as Miles would say.
Exactly, yes. It pushes the plot. No, it's just great how obvious Bart's being, and they're so clueless. We see Ned driving the RV full of worried Springfield parents, and they stop at a Shelbyville gas station with a friendly smile. In fact, Ned even nervously says, well, a friendly Springfield hello there, neighbors. We think some of our kids may be missing in your town.
Missing children?
Sounds like Springfield's got a discipline problem.
Maybe that's why we beat them at football nearly half the time, huh?
Oh my god, the nearly half the time line is so good. Oh, God. Nearly half the time. And of course, they don't drink Duff in Springfield. That's not their brand of choice. What do they drink, Rich?
Fud.
Bud. The exact opposite of Duff, of course. It makes so much sense.
It absolutely does.
Though it does kind of make me wonder if later, instead of Joe's, we shouldn't see Siams.
I can't spell that word backwards. Don't make me think, Miles.
We cut back up to the bluffs where the Shelbyville kids are now encouraging Bart himself to write Springfield sucks in giant letters. Bart starts to groan, but he also starts to write with spray paint, and the Shelbyville kids are very impressed with his work.
His can control is excellent.
Yeah, and that wig makes him look like a lot... Yes, and that wig makes him look a lot like one of the Beatles.
So the disguise was pointless.
And, I mean, clearly the scar is just enough to keep everything clean. But when the kids look back to see what Bart has written, he did not write Springfield sucks. At the last minute, he changed it to Springfield rules, suckers. That's right, the stranger who walks amongst you is me, Bart Simpson.
Huh?
You know, Bart Simpson.
Mm.
From Springfield?
He's from Springfield! Get him!
And Bart quickly realizes his mistake as he's backed against the wall in a menacing fashion by the Shelbyville children. And we cut to black, which ends our second act. And we're going to go ahead and take another quick break. But we're going to be back for the conclusion of Lemon of Troy in just a few quick moments.
Every year, new TV shows get canceled. Some make it an entire season, and some don't even make it that far. I'm Ed, host of Unaired, where each week we review a show that was canceled with episodes left unaired, then pitch our ideas for what could have been future episodes of those shows. We've covered shows like Cavemen, the show based on the Geico Cavemen commercials, the ill-fated 2011 Wonder Woman pilot, a show called Look Well, where Adam West plays an aging TV detective who thinks he can solve real crimes, and many more. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, unairedpodcast.com, or wherever you download podcasts. And remember, some things are better left unaired.
Greetings, friend. Do you wish to look as happy as me? Well, you've got the power inside you right now, so use it and send $1 to Best Darn Diddly. You can find us on patreon.com or donate to us directly on PayPal at bestdarndiddly@gmail.com. Don't delay. Eternal happiness is just $1 away.
$1 for eternal happiness, and to support one of my favorite podcasts. I'd be happier with $1.
We come back for our third act, and the gang of Shelbyville children is coming down hard on Bart. They reveal their lick and stick tattoos. They actually apply them as they're approaching Bart. They say things like kill, destroy, and motorcycle. But it's okay, Bart has a plan. He's going to use these spray cans as jetpacks and fly to safety. So long, losers! And the only thing that happens is exactly what would happen in real life. This is another one of those moments where it's just a fun way of like a child's mind working.
Yeah.
And in reality, Bart just spray paints all of his legs green.
You're dead.
Hey, look! Someone's attractive cousin!
Oh.
And this was just what Bart needed. He snickers as he grabs one of the skateboards off the kids' backs and rides to safety through a construction site, it seems. But the leader of Shelbyville can also skateboard. Anything he can do, he feels he can do better.
Launch me, boys.
They give him a push start and they go off down the same path. Bart is hurtling over barriers, hopping over signs, ducking around barrels and all sorts of stuff to get through, but the Shelbyville kid is also having absolutely no problem. We actually get a little tour of Shelbyville, and this is where we get some of those funny equal things that we talked about. For instance, the boys skate past a Speedy Mart that has a Korean owner that looks very similar to Apu. We also see Joe's Bar, which has a man who looks very, very similar to Mo himself. And as we pass the Shelbyville Elementary School, we see groundskeeper Willie's doppelganger, only when the person turns around, it's revealed that it's a female version of groundskeeper Willie.
Slow down, you sidewalk surfing cube glamers. You know, Miles, I think that Bart had a little prep for this little expedition on his skateboard when he had to skateboard through similar things with Jessica, where she goaded him into skateboarding through dangerous situations. So I think that might have prepared him for his grand escape here.
I guess that's fair.
Thanks for rolling with it.
I don't know what you wanted from me there. Yes, his death-defying, almost being killed by his girlfriend moment probably did improve his skateboard ability to some degree.
There we go. That's all I ever wanted from you.
All right, cool. Well, just when Bart looks like he's going to get away, the thing that started it all comes back to haunt Bart. He runs smack dab into some wet cement that must be like perfectly timed and quick drying because his board is instantly stuck into it.
I could sure use that flying motorcycle now.
You had your chance.
Why?
Being denied by Frink, Bart flees through a fence of the Shelbyville Zoo, and he runs into a locked building that had a sign that says, "Danger, Tiger Feeding Area."
Uh-oh.
At first, Bart feels like he's safe at last, but then he notices 12 doors surround him with Roman numerals on them. A note attached to one of the doors says that the only safe exit is through door number 7. All other rooms contain man-eating tigers. We hear the tigers actually growling, and Bart's upset. Roman numerals? They never even tried to teach us that in school.
I love how everything in this episode ties into each other. Like, they always do that on The Simpsons, but it almost feels more so in this episode.
They
like,
don't drop a
cement.
thing, man. Every single thing comes back into the episode. It's so good. Bart is essentially trying to phone a friend with his walkie-talkie. He yells out for Milhouse, "What's 7 in Roman numerals?"
I'll tell you, Bart, but you really should end each transmission with the word over, over.
And just then we see Milhouse 2 snatch the walkie-talkie from Milhouse. Correction. The only thing that's over is this transmission.
Is this the untimely end of Milhouse?
But Milhouse is my name.
But I thought I was the only one.
A pain I know all too well.
So this is what it feels like when doves cry.
And Milhouse have a moment of bonding together as they both know the pain of being Milhouse.
Named after a president's middle name.
For what it's worth, this whole sequence is apparently a parody of the 1931 movie Little Caesar, in which two men who essentially, one is joining the mob and one is getting out of the mob, and it's a story about their struggles and their friendship as their lives take different paths. I didn't know any of that until I watched the commentary this afternoon and Googled it, but that is what this scene references.
Of course, everything means something.
Everything means everything.
Speaking of everything, no.
Milhouse is having his moment, and unfortunately he starts to ignore Bart, who is quickly running out of time and not knowing what to do, as all roads lead to danger except one, and the Shelbyville kids are pounding louder and louder on the door he came in through.
But it's still locked.
I don't get it. Bart's trying to pep himself up. I got it. He opens a door number 9 to be exact. A tiger springs out at him and he slams it just in time. I don't got it. Think, Bart. Where have you seen Roman numerals before? I know! Rocky V! That was the 5th one! So, Rocky 5 plus Rocky 2 equals Rocky 7! Adrian's Revenge!
Which this joke is still funny today, even though they've had, Rocky Balboa, Creed, about to be Creed 2. It's still funny today. It's a good thing it wasn't 9, right? Because if 9, he couldn't combine Roman numerals.
Oh, it would have got tricky for him. You're absolutely right. But again, another just brilliant bit, because the truth of the matter is there probably were a lot of kids who had no concept of Roman numerals except for the Rocky movies.
Or the writer's age, then that's how they remember them.
So Bart does successfully escape with his Rocky math, and just in time as the rest of the kids burst in right behind him. Bart's upset, though, because they've lost the tree, and he feels like the mission is over. This whole raid was useless. As useless as that yellow lemon-shaped rock over there. Wait a minute. There's a lemon behind that rock.
I love the animation there. Because it pans and it literally is a yellow rock with a lemon behind it.
When you first see it, you only see the rock, so you think it's a lemon. But then when it pans out and you see the actual lemon, you can clearly tell it really is a rock that looks like a lemon. It's so simple.
Everything's yellow in Shelbyville.
But so brilliant. And that's when they discover that behind that lemon is in fact the lemon tree. But it's once again useless, Richie, because it's literally been impounded. It is behind the gates of the Shelbyville car impound lots.
Oh, and it gets worse, Miles.
We see the children assembling on the hilltop trying to find a way in, and they notice the Shelbyville kids are actually riding their bikes around it. Very similar to like you would see a motorcycle gang do it.
Yeah.
And the Springfield kids look on almost to the point where they're giving up hope. Milhouse even declares, "We'll never get the tree back now."
Keep your voices down, boys. We didn't come this far to get found out.
And in that moment, Homer, of all people, parts the bushes behind them. "Found him! You kids are in big trouble running away from home like this."
But they stole our lemon tree.
I don't care what excuse you've got. Nothing's going to stop me in the middle of this speech. You're gonna... Lemon tree!
And I feel a little bad for one of the boys on this adventure, Miles, because all these parents came to find their sons, and yet Nelson has no parent there looking for him. And I guess he's got the freedom to do whatever he wants, and it explains his character a lot because he has no consequences, but you feel kind of bad for him here.
Yes, it is very sad that one of the boys' fathers / mothers / parental figure in general is absentee.
But I like that they keep the thread going as well.
Right, yeah, so Nelson doesn't have representation, but all the other kids do, and the parents have come at first angry that their kids had run away, but after realizing their mission, we actually see Homer and the rest of the parents actually pounding on the gates of the impound lot trying to get that lemon tree. Homer declares, "That tree's been in Springfield since the time of our forefathers. Give it back or we'll bust in there and take it."
Bust in here and take it? You must be stupider than you look.
Stupider like a fox.
Something else I always say still to this day.
Another great line. So this, of course, is Homer meeting his doppelganger, Homer 2, who...
with hair.
Probably everyone listening to this podcast at least has seen the meme where it's the guy who takes a bite of lemon and just has the super, super, super sour face. And fun fact about this character is voiced by Hank Azaria, and when developing the voice, Hank Azaria went back to the roots of Homer. He actually based the voice for Homer 2 on Walter Matthau, which is the same person that Dan Castellaneta based the voice on when he was doing the show for the Tracy Ullman shorts before it became a 30-minute episode each week, because then it became a little bit too tough to maintain.
Don't you get it, Springfield? It's over. You lose. Now if you'll excuse me, all this talk has made me hungry.
And he bites into that lemon and makes that classic lemon face. Homer's upset. This is the darkest day in the history of Springfield. If anybody wants me, I'll be in the shower.
There's got to be a way to get that tree back. Hey, look! A hospital! Pull in there! Yoink!
He actually grabs the wheel and turns it, and from the back, we don't see him, we just hear Homer's voice. Aw, oh great. Now I'm upside down. Which, what the fuck? How did that happen?
But this is one of the other reasons that I love this episode so much, is that you actually get to see Homer and Bart working together towards the end, where it's like the two guys that usually butt heads or they both get zany on their own, they're actually coming together in this moment with a lot of other people as well, and it makes me happy to see them trying to do something together like this.
Yeah, it's fun when you see the father and son team up together to try to take on a common goal. I don't think it would work if they did it all the time, but it's a fun treat.
No, it wouldn't.
It's a really fun treat. Later that evening, however, we see Homer 2 again, and he's actually driving his tow truck through town when he notices the RV parked in the hospital zone.
Some thoughtless human being is parked in a hospital zone.
He drives up to the RV, hitches it to the tow truck, and takes it to the impound lot. We cut to even later that night when we see shadowy figures creeping out of the RV, and Homer delivers another just absolutely classic line.
No one in history has ever done anything this clever.
And they actually sneak out and grab the lemon tree and load it onto the top of the RV under the cover of darkness. And of course, what Homer is referring to is the Trojan horse. We talked about Helen of Troy at the top of the show. The Trojan horse is a very famous battle maneuver where a group of soldiers actually hid inside of a giant wooden horse. When their enemies took this horse into their gates thinking it was a gift, they waited till the cover of darkness when they were able to sneak out, and using the element of surprise, a much smaller army was able to take out an entire fortress.
Those shifty Greeks.
So another fun additional fact, however.
Orlando Bloom was in that battle?
It turns out that Homer was actually right when he said that no one in history has ever done anything this clever, because modern historians feel that that is very much just a story and very likely never actually happened in history. So Homer's right. While that tale has been told, they might legitimately be the first to successfully pull off the Trojan horse maneuver using an RV and the cover of night.
Well, and from some stuff I learned at the University of North Texas, Troy was destroyed and rebuilt so many times through different ages that they literally refer to it as like Troy 1, Troy 2, and I forgot how many Troys there are, but there's so many, and they could never even pinpoint when the Trojan War actually took place. So like they could never even get a exact time frame for it as well. So like history's just kind of wiped everything away where nobody will ever know for sure. But it makes one hell of a story.
It does. It's a great little allegory. Bart grabs the gate as the rest of the Springfielders strap the tree to the roof of the RV, but as soon as he opens the gate up, the alarm goes off and a ferocious dog starts chasing Bart down. He also catches the attention of the Homer 2 and his son. I love the bit, though, as Bart's fleeing to safety, Homer's trying to help him out, and he yells, "Run faster, son!" He throws a stake out to him, and then it just catches it in one gulp, so Homer has
catches it in stride.
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't
even
stop.
slow the dog down at all.
So Homer warns that he needs to run even faster. He's got a taste for meat now. The dog is in such hot pursuit that he actually, hammers into the door of the RV where his face takes mold, almost if it was one of those, pin things that you put your hand or face on and you can see the mold on the other side. But it's funny because the dog's still, growling and, lunging as a metal head. It's like a robo-dog.
He's deforming the metal on the door, he's that strong.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Homer, too, like I said, was alarmed by the alarm as well, and he decides to try to get his son.
"Get out here, son! There's a doin's a-transpiring! Let's shut the gate and seal them all in!"
I love doin's a-transpiring. That's such a great line.
It's reminiscent of the Marge lines in this episode, where, she gets the point across, but it's words you wouldn't normally put together in a sentence like that. You know what I mean?
And Hank Azaria does such a great job of delivering them deadpan, so it works out really funny. The tree is loaded, and everybody's screaming for Flanders to gun it, but he can't get the RV to start. Something's draining the battery. As we pan out, we see that Homer is preparing like a full-course dinner in the RV's kitchen.
Sorry, turns it off.
As soon as he turns it off, the RV starts up, and they're able to flee to safety, though the RV does take a little bit of damage as it makes its way through the gate. However, in reality, this is such a fucked up timeline, because that gate should have been closed like 20 times by the time they actually take off. It's really, really bad. But
if it's a Homer doppelganger running it, it's probably shoddy to begin with.
Well, and it's a cartoon, so it's funny that way.
Well, I love how like everyone's excited when they're busting through it, but Flanders is just like, oh.
I also love how Bart and Homer are excitedly yelling out together, "Eat my shorts, Shelbyville!" And Ned's response is even better.
Yes, eat all of our shirts. I love Bart and Homer saying "eat my shorts" together. Like, there's something so like it warms my heart to see them in unison.
Yeah, it's really, really nice.
And it's something that Bart does it first, and then Homer joins him because Homer's like, "Yeah, this is fun. Let's rub it in their faces."
Like father, like, or in this case, like son, like father.
Exactly.
Yeah. And another father to son moment too is with the Shelbyville versions of Homer and Bart. We've got the dad saying, "Oh, you lousy Springfielders, you! Hey, shake harder, boy!" And they're both shaking their fists in the distance.
Which is another very famous meme.
Mm-hmm. Shake harder, boy, all day for sure. It seems like the coast is clear. Springfield has got their lemon tree back, though one last just bit of fun as they're crossing the sign for Springfield. They actually don't make the clearance, and the tree ends up mangled and on the street. They drive several yards before stopping, putting the RV in reverse, and you actually get a long little sequence of the beep, 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 as the RV backs up and they have to reload the tree. We then cut back to Abe telling his story by the lemon tree, which is now properly mangled to match the damage that it just took from the fall on the pavement.
Continuity.
And with that, a mighty cheer went up from the heroes of Springfield. They had brought the sacred tree back to its native soil, and though Flanders was stuck with the impound fee, he could easily afford it.
More lemonade, Bart?
Absolutely. And you see Milhouse squeeze just a tiny bit of lemon juice in a glass, and then he starts to offer sugar, telling Bart to say when, and he pours literally an entire glass full before it cuts out.
That's how I always feel about lemonade.
Abe continues to tell his story, but it kind of fades out, and we cut over to Shelbyville, where they sit where no tree stands, and another old man tells a tale.
And with that, a mighty cheer went up from the heroes of Shelbyville. They had banished the awful lemon tree forever, because it was haunted. Now let's all celebrate with a cool glass of turnip juice.
And you see all of the kids of Shelbyville grimacing as they have to chug down this vile, vile turnip juice that is clearly not tasty, even in the slightest. Though, maybe if they added sugar, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
But that brings us to the end of our third act and to the end of Lemon of Troy. But I am quite confident that Richie and that book of his has some more to say about this episode.
Well, my book, The Simpsons, A Complete Guide to Our Favorite Family, like to point out that Milhouse was in full camo, but he was still wearing his red shoes for the entire thing. So I thought that was funny, because I would think you would, like I as a child, when I did a full get-up, would try to have shoes that matched it. And you'd think the red shoes would catch him, but they didn't. But that's okay, it's Milhouse. For me, personally, I was nervous about this episode. I was very nervous about this episode. I've put a lot of stock into that. This is my all-time favorite episode of The Simpsons. I kind of touched on it at the very top of the podcast, but I gotta say, Miles, I love seeing Bart so passionate about something that you want him to be passionate about, and the whole Springfield pride and all this. I love that he uses it in a kind of Bart way, where it's like, no, we're gonna break into Shelbyville and steal this back. Which, on a side note, how did the Shelbyvillians steal the tree in the first place? Were the parents involved? I don't know. It's a conspiracy theory. Needless to say, I think this episode definitely holds up. I can't say that there's been an episode that is even close to being as good as this one in my mind up to this point. I love this episode, and I think after rewatching it, it is still my all-time favorite Simpsons episode. I don't know what else I can say about it.
Strong endorsement. I'm going to say that I love this episode, though I don't think it's my favorite. I'm going to say that I think that we've had episodes that I've enjoyed more, but this one is a strong contender. With that said, I am disappointed in you, sir. Your research is usually lazy at best, and we all know that about you. But I was really hoping you'd pull this one, because frankly, you should have. There is only one place anywhere that gives a name to the leader of the Shelbyville Kids. The leader of the Shelbyville Kids, Bart's doppelganger, is named Shelby. And the only place that information was found, it wasn't originally in the script, it was never named in the episode, it was included in a book. A little book by the name of The Simpsons, The Complete Guide to Our Favorite Family. And I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd pick that one up, but fortunately you got me coming in for the cleanup for you.
As usual. I was elected to lead, not to read, okay?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And
All
plus,
right.
we can't trust any of the information in this book at this point.
Well, I do have another really funny story from the commentary that I have been dying to share. I think this is absolutely hilarious. During the production of this episode, the offices where the Simpsons were being written were actually being treated for termite treatment. They actually had to tent up the building, and they were told that it would be done overnight when no one was there. But once you enter a building that's been tented, everybody was a little bit nervous. They were freaking out just a bit, concerned that they might start pumping poisonous gas in while they're all sitting here trying to write this episode. David S. Cohen at one point got a really bright idea, and he actually pitched it with Greg Daniels, and the two of them said that they were going to go get coffee. They go to the break room, and instead of getting coffee, they actually find some ammonia and pour it into their mugs. They bring it back out and start joining the group again, just kind of keeping their coffee cup concealed. And as the smell started to spread through the room, the paranoia just manifested and everybody freaked out. They did it entirely hoping to get the afternoon off, and David Merkin called it for the day due to unsafe circumstances in the workroom, and they in fact successfully pulled a prank on Merkin that was revealed to him on the commentary of this episode.
Oh no.
So Merkin originally said that they both owe him a half day's work, but then changed it later to jokes on them, he wanted the day off too.
Oh.
But what a great
That's
story
funny.
and a great ending to a great episode. Lemon of Troy, an absolute classic. Matt Groening said it himself. It's definitely one of the top tier Simpsons episodes of all time. And that's going to do it for this week's Best Darn Diddly Review show. Make sure you follow Richie the WizKid at thewiz_kid23. Make sure you follow me at MrMostDaysOff everywhere online. And of course, make sure you follow our show at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY.
I'm doing it as we speak after all these years.
Richie and I want to thank you again so much for joining us on this week's podcast. We appreciate you tuning in each and every week for our journey through The Simpsons, the Golden Age, and beyond. We will be back again next week, and can you believe it? It's the finale. Not the finale spectacular, mind you, but the last episode of The Simpsons Season 6. It's Who Shot Mr. Burns, Part 1.
There will definitely be doings a transpiring, so make sure you come listen because we're stupider like a fox.
Until next time, be cromulent to each other.
Writers are strange and lonely people. We tend to be trapped in our heads, thinking of characters, coming up with voices, setting scenes. It's a lonely, depressing lifestyle. I mean, some of us drink. Others put a shotgun in their mouth. Whatever it may be, writers need some type of outlet. And that's why Daniel Ford and I got together and created the Writer's Bone podcast to help writers and to keep them out of situations like an insane asylum or painting a wall with their brain matter.
You can subscribe to Writer's Bone on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. Head over to writersbone.com to check out our original fiction, essays, boneyard discussions, and more. And in the meantime, all you writers out there, and hell, all you non-writers out there, keep writing.